Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome back to KXAN Live. I'm Esmeralda Zamora and today we are going to have a first warning weather look with our meteorologist Nick Bannin. Let's welcome him today. Nick, thanks so much for joining me. Tell us, what do you have in store for us right now?
Yeah, so we like to use these opportunities to not just talk about the next week because you're getting our weekly forecast updates every morning. Usually at midday, except during the Olympics, afternoon and night. But we like to give you a first warning about what's going to happen a little further down the line, whether it's 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, or even longer. So we thought we would talk about the early look at this coming winter. Now, some of you might say, well, sometimes we have a difficulty forecasting correctly here over just a couple of days, but we're talking about the winter forecast in a more broad way and the accuracy for these more extended forecasts, because they're not so specific, is actually usually pretty good. Remember what happened last winter? Well, this is what a typical El Nino winter is. 9.37 inches of rain in Austin, and a typical winter balancing out El Nino, La Niña, and ENSO neutral winters, 7.25 inches of rain. And last winter, we ended up with 7.48 inches of rain. So it was a wetter than normal winter. It was even wetter than a normal El Nino winter here in central Texas. And much of that rain, more than 6 inches of it, came in January, which sort of saved us. And we had a very dry February, but we've had more beneficial rain in the spring and summer months. So that set us up in a good place for where we are right now, although, of course, we still need more rain. So that brings us to the question of what's going to happen this coming winter. The well-advertised La Niña weather pattern is still looking on track to continue developing through the end of summer, strengthening into the fall and winter. And what that usually means is drier and warmer weather for the southern tier of states, with colder and wetter weather, with the wetter weather staying north of us, closer to the Great Lakes and also the Pacific Northwest. So that's what usually happens in La Niña winters. But what about this winter? Well, we just got an updated outlook from the Climate Prediction Center about what they're expecting for this winter. Remember, meteorological winters are in full month segments, December, January, and February, and it is looking drier than normal. And the darker those colors are, the more confidence they have in it being drier than normal. And there is very high confidence in a drier than normal winter, December through February, in really much of Texas, Louisiana, down through Florida. Now, winter is normally our driest season, but a dry winter can have impacts down the line into spring and summer, because if the ground is already dry, it's easier to heat up. And while it's a little too early to talk about next summer, this could, if this comes to fruition here, a dry winter has historically given way to a drier and hotter summer, Esme.
So as far as our winter forecast for this year, are you saying that we're going to have a dry, cold winter?
So as far as temperatures go, let's talk about that now, because that's usually not the case in these La Niña winters. Usually they're drier and warmer than normal. And warmer than normal is also the outlook here for this coming winter, December, January, and February. But here's the thing. You see to the north of us, the near normal, and then north of that, the below normal. There are going to be some parts of the U.S. that are colder than normal in winter. And what can happen, as happened 2 and 3 years ago, when we had the ice storm and we also had the snowstorm, and then the year before that, another round of snow, is that we can still get some pretty cold Arctic outbreaks. And in fact, they're a little more likely in La Niña winters because there's more cold well to the north of us that can come down with some strong cold fronts. So while the winter as a whole can be warmer than normal, and that's generally what we're expecting with these La Niña winters, December through February, it doesn't mean you're not going to get cold periods. And sometimes those cold periods can be even colder than we're used to. So there will be some periods of cold here this winter, but it appears that overall the winter's looking warmer than normal.
Warmer than normal, so we can't expect those major winter freezes that we get here?
No, because it's overall warmer than normal. I think there still could be those periods where we've had a warmer than normal winter as a whole, but we've had those ice storms and those snowstorms, even though the winter, when you add up the 3 months, is warmer than normal. So La Nina winters can do that to us. It's sort of an odd thing to think, oh, it's a warmer than normal winter. Why is it icy? Why are we getting snow? But we can get those little outbreaks of Arctic air during La Nina winters, so that's certainly still a possibility, even if the winter as a whole looks warmer than usual.
Just not throughout the entire winter, just little spots here and there.
Exactly, little outbreaks where as a whole we're looking with temperatures above average.
Now, what else can you tell us that we can expect or how we can prepare for this coming winter?
Well, we can talk about what is normal for winter because we talked about it being drier and also warmer than normal. This is what average rainfall is like in the winter months here in Austin. And remember, it is usually our driest season of the year. December getting less than 3 inches of rain. January closer to 2.5 inches of rain, and February, which is our driest month of the year, getting less than 2 inches of rain. So if that's normal, plan on getting less than that this coming winter. And as far as temperatures are concerned, these are the average highs each month. December, the average high 64, January 63, that's our coldest month of the year, and then temperatures starting to climb during the month of February. So these numbers serving as a baseline here, but remember, we're expecting it to be warmer than average in the winter, so you can plan on the numbers being a little bit warmer than this here this winter. Now, every winter is different. Even La Nina winters are different, so it is hard to say that just because the last La Nina winter gave us an ice storm that we would get one this year. It is hard to guarantee anything like that, nor would we want to, but it's certainly worth being ready as we get closer to the winter months. And of course, this is a very preliminary winter outlook that we've been talking about from the Climate Prediction Center. They're going to update this every month, and then they'll have their official winter outlook that they'll release in the fall, which is more of their more detailed expectations as far as temperatures, precipitation, as well as drought expectations and things. So consider this an early heads up, first warning from us about the way that this winter is looking, but it does match up very well with what we're thinking as far as La Nina conditions usually materialize here in Central Texas.
And as far as those updates that you were talking about, how can some of our viewers stay up to date with that information?
Yeah, so we're always posting updates on the weather forecast page on KXAN.com, but we also post frequent blogs as well under the weather and traffic tab. Click on weather blog, and you'll find a whole assortment of blogs from the weather team, including the monthly bird forecast that Kristen does every month, as well as our meteorologist Freddie Vela, who dives really deep into the tropics for us. So that's the place that you'll find these updates as we continue to get closer to winter.
Thanks, Nick. And this is something we're going to continue to be doing every Tuesday afternoon, our first warning weather with Nick Bannin. If anyone has any questions, how can they send them to you? How can they interact with us during these lives?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. Just search Meteorologist Nick Bannin. I'm also on Twitter at Nick Bannin or X at Nick Bannin. And you can find me on Instagram as well. You can always email me, nick.bannin@kxan.com. And hopefully we can answer some of your questions during our next KXAN Live, which should be next Tuesday at 3 p.m. if all goes according to plan.
Yes. And thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything that you want to touch on before we go?
That's it from me, but you'll be able to find me for our local forecast talking about all this heat and whether we've got any rain in our future. That's coming up on KXAN News at 5, 6, 9, and 10 tonight.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us again, Nick.
Thank you.
That's everything that we have for you all today. Thanks so much for joining us on KXAN Live, and we will be back tomorrow morning as well as noon for our noon headlines. Again, I'm Esmeralda Zamora, and this was KXAN Live.